Oh, okay. Hello everyone, welcome to another Tristan Has Thoughts Destiny 2 video. Today I'm going to try something a little bit new. You may or may not know, but a majority of my videos are scripted, and then I go back and edit them. I do retakes and whatnot, because my audio setup isn't too great. But what I'm going to try today is I'm going to try to do a live tier list, unedited, unscripted. These are just going to be my thoughts, what I think of each season. I'm going to try to go a little bit more in depth about why I'm placing certain seasons in certain places. I thought this might be an interesting video idea to try and see what's going on. So, first things first, Destiny 1. I'm not going to be covering Destiny 1 content in this tier list, as I mostly just want to focus on Destiny 2. I am going to go in order. It looks... okay, these are not ordered, so these are not going to be in order actually. I saw Forsaken and then Drifter, but I don't know where Black Armory is here. Because Black Armory was not a part of Forsaken, if I remember correctly. No. So that is Black Armory. Where's Forsaken? Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay. So yeah, this is going to be the first off-script, kind of open mic discussion I'm going to have. Let me know what you think of this. Might go well, might not go well. This is going to be a little bit of a test. See what we can do. So let's get right off, and we'll start with Black Armory. Excuse me. Now, I think for Black Armory, I think we remember it a little bit more fondly than maybe it was. And this isn't to say it wasn't a bad piece of content, but Black Armory was kind of the first, I guess, quote-unquote, real piece of seasonal content DLC that we had for Destiny. A lot of people did not play Warmind and Osiris. A lot of people probably came back for Forsaken, and this was the first season they were a part of. So, let's talk about what came out this season. Big thing, brand new raid, Scourge of the Past. Scourge of the Past is one of my favorite raids. I've always really enjoyed Scourge. I think the Berserker enemies were extremely cool. Even though it was a little less... there were a few less puzzles than other raids, I still enjoyed its faster paced combat. I think Insurrection Prime was a great boss. The loot was really good. You had the kinetic shotgun, Anarchy, which would define the meta for many years. I think what other weapons. The armor sets I also really enjoyed. We also got Always on Time. The Spell Power was actually quite a bit of fun too. As for the Forges were kind of our first seasonal style event. Even though they were in different locations, the mechanic was essentially the same. You would go out, kill enemies, throw balls at the Forge. This was also our first introduction of targeted weapon farming with the weapon bounties. A lot of really favorable, fan-favorite weapons in this DLC as well. What else? Fair few exotics. We got some exotics that are still beloved and, you know, menaces to this day. Izanagi isn't as strong as it used to be, but Le Monarch is still a very good exotic. Of course, Anarchy had its heyday, and now it's fallen out of favor a little bit, and Jotun, which I think has always been, you know, a give or take style exotic, so, excuse me, I think Forsaken, I think Black Armory, I'm going to put very safely into the B tier. I think, I may revisit this. I think seeing as it's the first listing, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to gauge where I want things to go, but I think B is a pretty safe spot for Black Armory, because Black Armory's narrative was essentially non-existent, really. The more interesting parts of its story were locked behind lore pages, essentially, that you had to farm from the Forges. The Forges were really high light level requirements very early on, very hard to complete. The weapon bounties didn't rotate correctly for the longest time, meaning a lot of weapons weren't accessible for the longest time. You also had the exotics, which were tied to only being drops from powerful bounties for the week at that Forge, meaning you only had 2 chances a week at the exotics. That's Jotun and Le Monarch. The unlocking of Buguzia Forge with Niobe Labs being bugged, of course, you know, at the end of the day, it's a bug, it's unfortunate, but it also hard-gated content away, and Bungie had to come out and change it and fix it hours and hours in. So, I think overall it was a solid first piece of content, seasonal-wise, that we got. Now, this is Season of the Drifter. Let's talk about Season of the Drifter, some of the things we got. Of course, Gambit Prime. Gambit Prime armor sets, Reckoning. This was the season we got the Thorn Quest? Or the Last Word? This might have been Last Word. Arbalest, also, if I recall correctly, came out this season because this was during the Revelry, back when we had the Revelry. And am I forgetting anything else that came out? We had no raid this season because we would get the raid next season with Opulence. So, elephant in the room. A season that focused on a core playlist. Do I think this is a bad thing? No. Do I respect that they tried it? Yes. Did it miss? Arguably, yes. I think a lot of people didn't like the loop of Reckoning into Gambit Prime, so a lot of people did Gambit Prime without Reckoning. A lot of times you would go into Gambit Prime, you wouldn't have armor sets, or you'd have two people with the Invader set. The armor sets weren't balanced that well, so some sets felt way stronger than others. I really think Gambit Prime, if Gambit Prime had a way for you to put in what armor set you were wearing, and then match teams of 4 based on their armor sets, it actually might have been more interesting. But I think Gambit Prime actually made some good changes to Gambit. Things we still see in the game today. Such as the health gate and whatnot. The 1 round. This is going to be controversial. I know a lot of people are going to like this because a lot of people didn't like this season, but I feel like I have to give Season of the Drifter points for trying. It tried to invest in a core playlist. No season has done this since. I think the Gambit Prime armor sets were a fantastic addition that unfortunately were really grindy and gated by Reckoning. I actually did like Reckoning as an activity. Reckoning had a lot of really good weapons. I liked the loot pursuit of Reckoning. I know a lot of people didn't like the bridge. And Bungie specifically came out and said the bridge had to be the way it was because of the power creep that had entered the game. Reckoning after the changes, after they nerfed some of the Super Generation exotics, I actually enjoyed quite a bit. More than the Forges, personally. I enjoyed Reckoning, and I know a lot of people aren't going to love that. But Season of the Drifter tried something that we've still not seen to this date. It also had the loyalty quest, which went nowhere, so that was a bit of a negative. I'm trying to think if anything else really bad and notable happened during Drifter. I mean, it's just like Gambit was the focus of it, and a lot of people don't like Gambit. You know, not too much you can do about that. That's just unfortunate on their part. What do we have next? Season of Opulence. Season of Opulence. Now, Season of Opulence is another... It's part of the Forsaken trio, so people naturally always think they're better. What did we get in Season of Opulence? We got the Menagerie, we got the Chalice, we got the Lumina... No, not... Did we get Lumina during Opulence? You know, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know we got Taraba, because we got Crown of Sorrow. What else? Not too much. So Season of Opulence, the big thing was the Chalice, the ability to focus fun weapons with targeted masterworks, right? This was the big thing. You could slot in runes for the weapon that you wanted, and then slot in a rune for the masterwork. Okay, acquisition of runes. If you remember, the acquisition of runes was AFKing in Rumble. A lot of my runes came from AFK. I don't recall runes being... If you wanted to farm a lot, you needed to essentially AFK for runes. You could only get them once a week from the barge. You could do activities with them with certain items to try to get more runes, but you weren't guaranteed to get the runes you wanted. So you were also hard gated by the runes that you had. Of course, there was the chest exploit, so you could get multiple drops per run, which they eventually fixed. Menagerie was nice though because it rotated, right? You weren't always doing the same thing, you know, it wasn't always, you know, this or that. There were a couple fights you could do. There was the dunking one where you kind of had to stay in the safe zones. What else was there? It's so long ago, I'm completely drawing a blank on what other activities were in the Menagerie. There was the Vex Cranium one. For the life of me, I can't remember. I'm drawing such a blank. Crown of Sorrow was a pretty good raid. I think the opening was a little bit slow, but we've seen that in almost every raid since has had some sort of slow opening. There were only a few desirable weapons. I think the Chalice was a good precursor system to the focusing we would get later, but it was not perfect. Should Season of Opulence be remembered in the way that it is? Probably, but I think it is most definitely overhyped as our best Destiny season. For sure. Shadowkeep. The Moon. Garden of Salvation. Sheesh. The story was nothing great. Going into the Pyramid, like, this being our first introduction to the darkness as a concept was quite cool. Seeing the Pyramid on the Moon, the end of Garden of Salvation when you are in the Black Garden. Both are pretty cool and interesting. This also brought Champions. It brought Armor 2.0 if I'm not mistaken. This is when we first started to get combat style mods. Charged with Light, etc. Shadowkeep wasn't great. The Nightmare Hunts were not that interesting. The Lectern was cool, but had its issues. Armor 2.0 was a good change. Champions, of course, were a good change. Champions have not been iterated on since, but at the time, they were decent. Yeah, it was just okay. It was just an okay expansion. If you didn't play Shadowkeep, you didn't miss out on anything. Garden of Salvation was probably one of my least favorite raids. No heavy weapon, had to do it a full year for Pinnacles. Exhausting. So that's probably affecting my rating of it. Season of the Undying. Let's put it here for now. I might move it. Vex Invasions. The Vex invading the moon with the portals was cool. Something happening in the world that's also happening in the story outside the seasonal activity was cool. Weapons were very mid. Story was underwhelming. The end was quite underwhelming. Ariana's Vow. Exotic special hand cannon. Yeah, overall it wasn't a great season. Season of the Undying was not a great foray into the seasonal format, unfortunately, but we do have to remember that it did come with Shadowkeep, whereas Black Armory did not come with Forsaken, so something to think about. Season of Dawn. I know, I can already hear it. You put Season of Dawn above Opulence and Black Armory. I did, yeah. Season of Dawn was a great season, and I think it stands as a hallmark of what the seasonal format can be. The story was interesting. Quarters of Time, I thought was a great community event. Bringing back Saint 14 and then having him become the Trials vendor, I thought was another great piece of the world is evolving, the world is changing. The idea that they want to push this evolving world, it did. We brought Saint 14 back, and now he runs Trials and is a big part of the story. The Sundial, I thought was a great activity. The weapons were all quite desirable. I really like the way you upgraded the Obelisk. We had the Fractal Line event, meaning the more you invested in your Obelisk, the more payout you got made a really, great weapon farming this season. Some really great top tier weapons. Season of Dawn just stands out as a great season. It was a great, great season. Season of the Worthy. Ooh. Yeah, a lot of people not gonna like Season of the Worthy. I'm not gonna try to say that I did. The bunkers were kind of Obelisk 2.0. The Felwinter quest for sure was a highlight, with Felwinter Shotgun being given to everyone at the end. Of course, it was bugged. Very unfortunate. The public event was extremely mid. Little difficult with randoms. But the summoning of the bots and whatnot were actually kind of cool. Something we've not really seen since. The frames and the javelin. Was it? Oh, maybe Undying should go there. I'm always going to be a little bit harsher with expansions. Like, arguably, maybe Shadowkeep should be in C here. But seeing as it is a main yearly expansion, I expect a little bit more, unfortunately. Season of Arrivals. I think another easy A tier season. Pyramid ships on the planets. Very cool. Great world building. Absolutely love that. The public event I also thought was pretty good. A lot of really, really good weapons. The storyline was interesting. We got some great exotics this season. We got the trace rifle, and you had to like pop Savathun's eyes with it. Overall, I just thought a really good season. Also, kind of had the end of season event where we saw the Traveler heal and all the planets get sunset. Overall, I just thought it was pretty damn good, dare I say. Another really great season. I think the Shadowkeep year, unfortunately, had probably some of the better seasons and some of the balance between the good seasons and the not so good seasons was quite astounding. But most definitely some bangers in this year of content for sure. Beyond Light. First introduction to Stasis, Europa, Deepstone Crypt, which I think is a fantastic raid. We got anything else we get this season? Salvation's Grip. I think Beyond Light was like a mid-tier expansion. Beyond Light was pretty good. It was most definitely better than Shadowkeep. Deepstone Crypt was better than Gun and Salvation in my opinion. Stasis was a nice addition to the game. Even though it was very busted at launch in PvP, I think Stasis has kind of cemented a place in PvE, although its strength varies now with the 3.0 reworks. At the time, the 3.0 format with Beyond Light and Stasis was very cool, unlocking fragments and aspects. Also, every season you would get new stuff for your subclass, which I also think was really cool. Overall, I thought Beyond Light was a pretty good season. Season of the Hunt. It's like glorified public event boss. It was not good. Hawkmoon questline was interesting. This is when the narrative started to maybe arguably get a little bit more interesting. This is when we got Crow back. So I might have to give it points for that. The Hawkmoon mission was interesting. Our first randomly rolled exotic. But overall, it didn't do anything. Short, not great, not overly interesting. I think for sure one of the easiest F tier seasons. Season of the Chosen, another A tier season for sure. Keitel's introduction to the story, fantastic. We got a new strike this season also. The seasonal event was Battlegrounds. I think a lot of people really liked Battlegrounds. I'm trying to think what else. The story too. I think a lot of people just enjoyed the story. A lot of people liked Keitel. Keitel, I think, to me, remains one of the more interesting characters that have recently been added. And yeah, overall, just Very, very good in my opinion. Very, very good. I'm quite a fan of Season of the Chosen. It didn't do anything too crazy, but it most definitely, stands on its own two legs quite well. As for the weapons, I can't remember too much. I think this is when we got Tiku's. Pretty solid exotic. And for the life of me, I can't remember what else we got. This is when we got the exotic heavy bow. I can't remember. But overall, very good season. Good season to have played. Splicer. So Splicer is an interesting one because do we include the raid? The raid is technically free. It's not part of the season, but it is something that came out during this season. So we got Vogue this season. I think we will include it. We got Vogue this season. The storyline of bringing Mithrax back into the story was interesting, going into the Vex network. The factions inevitably leaving the city at the end was also quite cool. The weapons were enjoyable. The seasonal activity I think a lot of people enjoyed. This was the season we got Breach and Clear. I don't think it was on the same level as Chosen, Dawn, and Arrivals, but I most definitely think it is a solid B tier season. Lost. Season of the Lost. So Lost was a long season. You have to remember Lost was 6 months. And yes, we did get the 30th anniversary, but it was separate and quite a bit more expensive. So I think again, Lost sits in a solid B. I think the activity was pretty good. I think the exotics, we got Septa and whatnot. I think a lot of people enjoyed those. The storyline with... Oh, I can't believe I didn't mention this. No, this season had Presage. That's an easy ass. Presage was fantastic. I can't believe I forgot about Presage. No, Presage, it makes this an easy ass. Presage and DMT, fantastic. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot that. I cannot believe I just thought about Presage. Talking about Season of the Chosen. No, that's an easy S tier season. Presage and DMT, fantastic weapons. Fantastic weapon, fantastic mission, fantastic story. Everything about that was great. Sorry, Chosen is an easy S tier season. Back to Lost. I think this is when Savathun outs herself. This is, of course, we know, leading up to Savathun stealing the light, quote unquote. Overall, it was an okay season. I put it, same level as these seasons here. They were all very good seasons, solid seasons. If you played these seasons, you enjoyed them. 30th Anniversary Edition. This one I'm a little torn on because you essentially paid $30 for Gjallarhorn. Grasp of Avarice is an okay dungeon. It's probably one of my least favorite. Days of Eternity is a great activity though, and the weapons are fantastic. Lots of armor sets, lots of cosmetics to unlock and earn. You really essentially with this paid for Gjallarhorn and the cosmetics. Right, Bungie always was holding on to Gjallarhorn until they needed to sell DLC, and what did they need to sell? The 30th anniversary, and how did they sell it? Gjallarhorn. To be fair though, I thought it was a very good little season. Even though it was more than the other seasons, and arguably the seasonal part of it was free, quote unquote. I'm just going to put the entire thing in A tier. I thought it was really good. The PvP meta was great. A lot of people enjoyed 30th anniversary. It was a really good time to be playing Destiny. Sure, this the 2 seasons combined were 6 months and quite long. And you probably didn't play a ton and felt quite burned out, but I think overall great. Witch Queen. I think Witch Queen was A. I know a lot of people don't have a lot of love for Witch Queen. They say, what did Witch Queen really add? Longevity-wise to the game. You could say that for every expansion. The expansions rarely add anything longevity-wise. You did Blind Well for 3 months. You did Wellspring for 3 months. I think the story was cohesive. The Legendary campaign was great. It just felt good to play Witch Queen. compared to something like Shadowkeep or Beyond Light. It just felt good to play, and that's where most of my value comes from. I think Vow was a pretty good raid. I don't love the opening of Vow, but overall I think I think Vow's an okay raid. Entirely new enemy type 2 in the raid. We have Rolk, who is a Disciple of the Witness, entirely new enemy. So yeah, no, overall, I think Witch Queen was just a fantastic expansion. Big fan of it, big fan of it. Now we're getting into we're going to take a bit of a detour. Forsaken, easy S tier. I don't think anyone expected anything else. The story with Riven, Last Wish, fantastic. 2 patrol zones, great cohesive story. I think it was just a great expansion, really. Maybe I'm starting to get tired, I'm talking less. But if you played Forsaken, you know why Forsaken was great. Sure, killing Cade was a little cheesy and maybe unnecessary, but the Baron fights, fantastic. Going from the Reef to the Dreaming City, everything in the Dreaming City, there was a lot of stuff there. The Curse, Shattered Throne, great stuff overall. Very, very solid expansion. For sure, still the best expansion we've had, although I think Witch Queen is close. Need a drink. Excuse me. Next, Curse of Osiris. Not great. Curse of Osiris was the start of things getting better for Destiny 2 Vanilla, which I think maybe I should have done Destiny 2 Vanilla first. Destiny 2 Vanilla was not good. I think if you're a PvP player, you might argue otherwise, but Destiny 2 Vanilla was no good. It was not fun. I didn't start playing until Osiris, but the base game was not great. Not much to go over. I'm not even really going to go over the raids. You can't play them anymore. They're so old. This was... Leviathan was Destiny 2 base. Curse of Osiris was the Hydra boss with the bombs. I can't remember its name. that's how unremarkable it was. But yeah, overall, neither of these were good. If you stuck through Destiny, if you played vanilla into Osiris, into Warmind, good for you. I did not play vanilla. I came in for Osiris, played Warmind, and then that was when I really started to get into Destiny again. And Warmind C, simply because that's when a lot of the implementation that would come in Forsaken was set up, right? Go Fast update, Escalation Protocol was pretty good. Spire of Stars was a pretty okay raid. A difficulty spike, for sure. That's the Go Fast update also. Warmind walked so Forsaken could run, essentially, is how I look at it. It's really how I look at it. Yeah. It's really old now, so I don't think people are as interested as knowing. Risen. It was just okay. This was the only time outside of Witch Queen we would deal with the Lucid Hive. The storyline was okay. I found Crow a little unlikable, and this kind of started my arc of I don't really like Crow. This did give us Fox Obscura, which is a pretty cool mission. Nowhere really on the level of anything else. I guess I could talk about 0 Hour and Whisper here, but I'm not gonna move him up because of well, I guess I did move I did move Chosen up just because of one mission, but my god, that was a good mission and an already good season. So I think Presage, yeah, I think Presage was better than both 0 Hour and Whisper. I know I'm gonna get crucified. A lot of people really like those missions. A lot of people really like the timers. I think Presage was better. Aesthetically, story-wise, visually, just everything. Great atmosphere. Very cool. Well, was it? I'm gonna stick with that. That's a hot take. I'm gonna stick with it. Haunted, another mid-season. Didn't love the story. Dealing with the nightmares again. Leviathan's back, so it can get Sunset for like a third time. It was cool to bring back the Patrol Zone. They brought back some fan favorite weapons. Pretty mid. Not a great season. And Plunder is going to fall in the exact same boat. I was tempted to put them in D, but I think that would be a little unfair. Plunder, again, we got King's Fall, which was a good reprisal. The story of Plunder was just a little blasé to me. Going from dealing with the nightmares to being space pirates, just not doing it for me. Overall, I mean, Witch Queen seasons have generally been on the more mid avenue, right? When you look at Shadowkeep's year and Lightfall, not Lightfall years, Beyond Light's year, they had some, variation in their seasons. I think this year the seasons have been very consistent, but I think they most definitely been below the caliber of previous year's seasons, for sure. As for this season, let's say hypothetically this season was on here, I think it would be a B. I would put it in B. I think it'd be up there with Splicer, I think it'd be up there with Lost. I think it is for sure the best out of the 4 seasons we've gotten this year. Just Revision Zero, really cool, fun mission. The weapons, pretty desirable. I think a lot of people are really excited for a lot of the weapons. I don't think Plunder and Haunted had that many desirable weapons outside of like Callous Mini Tool. Like the reissues of Haunted were more popular than the weapons of the season itself. And I think that speaks volumes. So yeah, that was my thoughts on all the Destiny 2 seasons. I'm pretty happy with where things are shaping up. I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah, this is maybe not. I went a little more in depth, took a little more time to think. It was a little less off the cuff. Most definitely make an argument that, some seasons should be maybe in other places. But I think overall, this would be kind of my final resting place for a lot of these seasons. I think a lot of people are going to see B and think B means mid. I would say C is mid. B is above average, A is exceptional, and S is, exceeding all expectations. Right? B is like, it hit my expectations for the season pretty well. Good stuff. A is like, wow, this is really good. I really enjoyed playing during these parts. And S is like, man, I loved this content. It was great. I had a great time, right? So let me know your thoughts below. Do you think Season of the Drifter should be an F? I think that's probably going to be one of my my hotter placements on the list. But I do plan to make a video on why I think Season of the Drifter gets points just for trying something that none of the others did. So expect that in the future. But yeah, let me know. What do you think? Do you think I'm wrong? If I'm wrong, let me know. Tell me how wrong I am. Let me know what you think about this more unscripted, long-form content. I'm going to go through and edit the audio, so hopefully the audio, there's not a ton of background noise and stuff. Me breathing and stuff. I'm going to do my best to try to get rid of that. So remember, if you like this kind of content, subscribe. I upload daily. Give this video a like. Really helps out. Been getting a lot of great support. I mean, we got 2 videos almost at 500 views. Yesterday's videos almost up to 100. Great support, great love. Thank you to everyone who watches these videos and listens to the ramblings of a really opinionated Destiny guy. So yeah, remember, like, subscribe, comment. I nauseate myself when I say it, but my god, you wouldn't believe how a few likes and a comment can really send a video off through the algorithm. Anyways, I hope everyone has a great day. I'll see you later.